In today's tutorial, I would be sharing how I made this free dress. It is a dress with gathers around the knee line and it has straps. I love this dress because it is super easy to make and you can also wear it around. I also feel it is perfect for the current weather. So you feel free, you feel comfortable. If this is something you want to learn how to make, then this tutorial is for you. My name is Ayomide and on my YouTube channel, I post sewing tutorials and pattern drafting tutorials. Now let us jump right into this tutorial. For this dress, I made use of this crepe fabric that has this Adire pattern. I fell in love with this fabric the moment I saw it in the market and I knew it was perfect for this style. To begin, first I have gone ahead to fold my fabric into two, a reasonable amount that would be enough. I'm also rolling a line at the top which would serve as the starting point for my pattern. Because this dress is a sleeveless dress, I will be taking out some measurements and I will be taking out 6 inches. Okay, so I will be placing 6 inches on that starting line and I think 6 inches should be the minimum really. You could take more than that, right? So placing 6 inches on that starting line, I will be marking my chest line measurement, which is 8 inches. I would also mark my shoulder to waist measurements, which is 16 inches. I will mark my shoulder to hip measurement, which was 24 inches. And then I'll be marking the length of this dress. That's the body itself. I went for a length of about 34 inches or 38 inches thereabout. So you need to measure where you want your gathers to start from. I'm going to be rolling a line across. After that, I went on to cut out my fabric so that I could work with a smaller piece of fabric. It just made it easier to work this way. Moving on, it's now time to place my measurements. On the starting line, which serves as the neckline, I am placing half of my across chest measurements. So whatever your across chest measurement is, divide it into two and mark it there. I would also add half an inch for the sewing allowance there. On the chest line right there, I am placing a quarter of my bust measurements. I would also add an additional 1 inch for my sewing allowance. On the waistline, I will be placing my measurement too. So I'm placing a quarter of my waist measurement. I added about half an inch for ease so that it can be free around the waist, and then 1 inch for my side sewing allowance. On the hip line too, I placed a quarter of my hip measurement. I also added about half an inch for ease too, and the side seam allowance. To place my measurement on the hem, I measured what I have entirely on the hip line and placed the same measurement on the hem. That's the length of the dress. I didn't do any shaping. It was the exact measurement I had on the hip line that I placed on the hemline. Here I'm connecting all of the points together. This is just as if you are drafting your basic gown pattern. Moving on, I would also be drawing my armhole. So just look at the move of my hand. I'll draw my armhole in this manner. Moving on to my neckline, I don't want my neckline to be straight. What I did was to mark 1 inch beneath that line. I then connected it to the starting point of my armhole in this manner. Also, I added half an inch sewing allowance to the neckline, connected it to the armhole, and in this way I am done drafting out the front pattern. So what I did was to cut this out. This is what the front looks like after I was done cutting. You can see So I would be using the front now to cut out the back. To cut the back, I have also cut out a reasonable amount of fabric that I believed would be enough to cut out the back. I am placing the front on top of this fabric that I cut out. I also left 1 inch for zipper allowance. At this point, I didn't know whether I'll be needing the zipper allowance or not, but I just left it there just in case I don't need it. I would close it up. Moving on, I would be extending my waistline onto the back fabric. That is my waistline right there. Also, I would measure from the waistline above to where the armhole starts from, and I add about 8.5 inches. So I would be drawing the marking of the armhole and the side onto the back fabric so that I can have a pattern of the armhole and the side on the back. Next, that 8.5 measurement that I marked, I would measure it above the waistline and then connect it to the armhole line that I just drew. So for the back neckline, it's not supposed to be straight, it should be slanting a bit. I'll be coming downwards by about 1.5 to 2 inches and then create a slanted line to where the armhole starts from. So the difference between the front and the back is that the back does not have a bit of armhole, it's just flat, straight this way. So if I place my front and back together, this is what it's going to look like, right? As most other sleeveless dresses look like. Your front could have a bit of armhole, but the back would not have any armhole. After I was done altering the back, I went on to cut out my back pattern. After cutting, this is what my back is looking like while I have the front in this manner. This is the front. So what I'll go ahead and do is to cut out facings for both the front and the back, and also cut out straps that I'll be connecting to both the front and the back neckline. So for the facing, I'm gonna have to cut them out, and I have this facing here for this side of the back, while the other facing goes to the other side of the back. One thing about facings is that it makes your work look neat. Also for the front, I've cut out facing. This is the facing that I'll be using for the neckline and the armhole area of the front. As for the straps, I've also gone ahead to cut out straps that I'll be attaching to the neckline, and the length of this strap is about 15 inches, although I had to take out 1 inch away because it was loose, and the wideness is about 3.5 inches. I will be folding it into two in this manner and join it together by half an inch just to have my straps done. I've gone ahead to join the straps, guys, and this is what it looks like. Also, I ironed it well so that it can come out clean. Now to fix this strap on my neckline, this is the front. I'll place it on the neckline at about 0.5 inch away from the armhole area, or 0.75 inch, just to provide allowance to turn the armhole area. I'll pin it down and also repeat likewise for the other side of my armhole. I'll attach the strap to the neckline about 0.75 inch away from the armhole area. I'll go ahead and stitch this down. After stitching, I would also use my facing on it so that I can sew the neckline down too. So I'll be sewing the facing across the neckline and also across the armhole area. I am done sewing what I just explained, fixed the strap and also fixed the facing. You will need to iron so that your facing can lay flat on the inside properly. So this is what it looks like. It is now time for me to join the straps to the back just like I did for the front. So this is the part of the back that aligns with this part of the front. You have to be very careful so you don't sew it wrongly. To fix this, I'll be picking my tape and I'll measure about 6 inches away from the center back. Pick up my strap, pin it, I'll sew it down. After sewing, I would also use my facing just like I did for the front. Pick up my facing, place it against the back and sew it along the neckline only. I'll repeat likewise for the other back fabric piece too. I am done sewing what I just explained. Here I'm trying to align the back to the front appropriately so that you can understand what I just did. So I fixed the facing. I've also sewed down the straps. You can see it there. As for the center back, I did not sew it entirely to the zipper area. I want to fix my zip and use the facing to finish off the zipper area. So what I'll go ahead and do next is to fix my zipper. You can see along the center back. I would also stitch the remaining parts down and mark out my side seam allowance along the side. But before then, I'll be adding straps. This is entirely optional, but it gives fitting around the waist. I'll fix my straps along the waistline, put it on the inside because the strap will be on the inside. Put it on the inside, place my back on it, then mark out my side seam allowance and sew it all the way down. So to sew the sides, I will be opening up the facing this way, making sure that facing faces facing, front facing and back facing faces each other, and sew it down. This way it just gives a professional finish to your garment. After sewing all of that down, I decided to wear this on my mannequin so you could have a view of what it looks like. Here, my dress is just looking like a short dress, with straps. This is what it looks like closely, and I have fixed my zipper along the back. You can see how I used the facing to finish off the zipper nicely, and my straps is also there. So what is left to work on is the gathers that will be fixed along the hem of the dress. So now let's go ahead and do that. As for the fabric I would be using for the gathers, this is it right here. I've gone ahead to cut out a very long strip of fabric that was about close to 120 inches wideness. You can see it's very long. It's better to have an excess fabric. I've gone on to turn the hem, and the upper part I just turned the fabric once, and that's because I'm going to be stitching this on the fabric, not on the inside. So I need that part to be well finished. The length is about 21.5 inches, which makes up the actual length of my dress once I stitch this down. Okay, so this fabric is going to be gathered, and I'll be using my gathering foot for this. I'll place it on my sewing machine and create my gathers. This is me here using the gathering foot to sew in the gathers. The beauty about this foot is you don't need to create the gathers yourself, okay? Fix your foot on your sewing machine and it creates the gathers for you. It makes it less stressful. So this is what I use to create my gathers. After gathering, this is what my fabric looks like. Okay, the good thing about the foot is you can make your gathers as full as you want it to be. You just need to tweak the settings on your sewing machine. But for these garments, this is the kind of gathers that I want for this fabric. It is now time to fix this on my dress. I have my dress right here. And remember I said I would be sewing the gathers onto the fabric, on top of the fabric, instead of on the inside. Instead of placing right side of the fabric against each other. No. What I'll do is to place my gathered fabric on top of the gown and stitch it on top. There's just this beauty it gives a dress when you sew your gathers on top. It gives it a much more fuller effect, and that is what I want to achieve. This is me right here trying out the dress after I was done sewing the gathers. You can see right there. You can see how fuller it looks, and I love the outcome of the dress. This particular style of dress is quite simple and easy to make. This is me here dancing because I love the dress. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a huge thumbs up. If you have learned something new from this, which of course I know you have, and you haven't subscribed, please click on the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, share the videos, and I will see you all in my next tutorial. Goodbye and stay blessed.